Hey everybody, welcome back to Not Another Watch channel. Sorry for the delay in video. I was on my honeymoon, so I haven't made anything in about 2 weeks. So glad to be back, and let's jump right on into this one. This video is going to be less of a review and more of just kind of an overall chat, and as the title shows, it's going to be about how I've, in the past year or so, really fallen out of love with my Seiko SKX. This Seiko is the SKX 007 K2. I bought this in 2014 from Long Island Watches. Absolutely loved the hell out of it for a good year or so. I had it on the Jubilee bracelet that it comes with here for about a year. And then when I wanted to spice things up a little bit, I put it onto this oyster style bracelet, which is currently what's on it now. One of my first realizations right out of the box, which still bothers me to this day, is how big it wears. It is a 42 millimeter watch. It's 13 millimeters thick, but this thing wears like a tank on your wrist. Like, it is thick, it's clunky, it does not hide well under a shirt cuff or any sort of jacket that's not thick. This thing takes up space, and you know you are wearing it. In contrast to other watches of similar sizes like the Sub or even the Speedmaster, not in thickness but in overall size, this thing feels considerably larger, and it just, to me, looks like a giant mass on my wrist whenever I'm wearing it lately. The main issue, though, that made me really not want to wear it is that, at least mine, it keeps terrible time. This thing loses minutes over the course of a week, and that, to me, is just not acceptable. I've brought it in, no one seems to think anything's wrong with it, so I'm not going to pay to have a $200 watch serviced, but it doesn't keep time reliably enough that I can wear this thing and be like, oh yeah, I have 3 minutes to catch my train. Realistically, it's 5 minutes behind because I haven't set the time in 2 weeks, and now I miss my train, I miss a flight, whatever. It just doesn't keep accurate enough time for me that some of my even cheaper watches do a much better job of. I will say, though, I love the lume on this watch. It glows beautifully. It's the minute, the hour, the second hand, even the 12 o'clock position on the bezel all have lume inserts, so it's a very clear watch. It's bright. It, in my opinion, is just a great overall lume. So I'll give this watch that little bit of credit. But other than that, I'm just very slowly falling out of love with this thing. I know this is something that I've discussed in other videos too, but the date and day of the week change on this watch is very slow. I believe it's almost up to 4 hours for the day of the week to fully change, which I know is somewhat common in some watches that are at a lower price point, but I just, on top of some of the other things that are irking me about this watch, it hasn't kept up the wrist time due to all of these factors adding up. But this was the watch that got me into mechanical watches, so I will always keep it in my collection for that purpose, but it's just losing out on wrist time to some other watches that I never thought in a million years would be taking the wrist time of this watch. I don't hate the 4 o'clock crown as much as some people do. It's definitely not visually as appealing to me as it would be at 3 o'clock, but with the crown guards and everything there, it's not the worst, and it actually feels a little better on the wrist sometimes because it doesn't hit you in the same spot that all of your other watches do. This watch also has pain-in-the-ass spring bars. Changing the strap on this thing is not fun for me. I don't know if that's just potentially the spring bars that were put in at the jeweler when I replaced the original Jubilee to this oyster, but taking this oyster bracelet off is so much of a hassle lately that I don't even think about changing the strap on this watch anymore, and that bothers me a little too because I know that possibly if I mixed this up, it would bring some new life into it, and maybe I would fall in love with it again, but the spring bars are just so much of a pain that I don't even think about possibly changing the strap on it. Overall, if you're new to the mechanical watch game, I would say this is still a great starter watch. This watch will help you get a grasp on what you like and you don't like about mechanical watches. It will, if you really want to dive into it, could help you very much learn about mechanical watches and everything you want to know about them. And it's at a great starter price point, even though I don't think they're making the 007 anymore, but you could find a very similar model at a very reasonable price point. But just know that I don't, in my opinion, think this watch has the longevity abilities for wrist time that some other watches, in my opinion, do. This is not going to be a watch that I wear more than maybe one day a month sometimes, because I've very much fallen out of love with it. If you guys have any other suggestions as to how I could maybe re-spark my interest in this watch, let me know. Or if you feel the same way, also let me know. I'll be back with some more videos real soon, guys, so thank you for watching, and see you next time.